In each PLD cohort, we asked the cohort to nominate who their class speaker will be, and you all voted. And it is my great honor to introduce Chad Foster, who's going to talk to you all. So Chad.
Good evening, guys. So I'd like to start off just on behalf of the PLD cohort by thanking Mike and Lisa and the tremendous faculty and staff here for making this such a life-changing experience. I know for me personally, everybody went way above and beyond, and I'm sure they did for you guys as well. So let's give them a big round of applause. I would also like to thank each of you in PLD 21 for everything that you brought to the table. The learning that you brought to the classrooms, to the living group rooms, the friendships we created, the honest and sometimes vulnerable conversations that we had, and being able to check our egos at the door and really create a professional family. And also the diversity of perspectives that we brought from different parts of the world, different regions, different cultures, different industries, different functional disciplines, and a different set of life experiences. And I think just the ability to combine all of those aspects really allows all of us to see the world through many, many different lenses, and see business problems and society at large through many different lenses. So for that, I want to personally thank you. What an amazing time we live in. To think that despite my condition, my lack of eyesight, there are tools available that allow me to participate in the remarkable things that life has to offer, such as being with you all here tonight. Like I always said, it's a great time to go blind. Not that I'm recruiting, but just 20 or 30 years ago was not a good time to go blind. 30 years ago was a terrible time to go blind. Trust me, if you're looking into going blind, now's the time. With all the technology out there, like GPS systems and smartphones, it's incredible what you can accomplish. Now, we live in a very dynamic world, and circumstances are constantly changing. So in that sense, all of us are blind. Blind in some aspect. My goal is to help you see the world through a slightly different lens and improve your vision. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? Blind guy offering advice on how to improve your vision. So for those of you who don't know, I wasn't born blind. Growing up, I had daytime vision, and I played sports. I played basketball, football, baseball. And I ended up losing my eyesight between the ages of 18 and 23 years old due to an eye condition known as arm pain. Have any of you guys ever tried to see through a really dense fog? My vision started acting like that. And I'd always had poor night vision, but now I had poor day vision. So on one evening, I had more than a few drinks and slightly impaired judgment when I decided it would be a good idea to walk a couple of miles down the road to get a late night hamburger. During that adventure, I did not land the hamburger that I so desperately craved, but I did land 15 feet inside of a drainage ditch. Another time, I was walking to class on campus and going down a flight of stairs when all of a sudden, an entire story of stairs was missing. I stepped off of the stairs and fell 15 feet to the ground again. While lying there, it occurred to me, I'm no optometrist, but I don't think I can see very well. People who can see don't step into 15-foot holes on a regular basis. Have any of you ever felt like you stepped into a dark hole? I learned a really important lesson. You do not know what you cannot see when you cannot see. You do not know what you cannot see when you cannot see. So, after having countless near-death experiences while walking and driving, flushing over 2 years of university work down the drain, facing the fact that I was 22 years old in the prime of my life, I was forced to embrace the concept that I would no longer be able to see. Never see a sunset. Never see my wife. Never see my children. Life as I had known it was vanishing like a dream. The vivid memories slowly floating out of my grasp as I awoke to the morning of my dark reality. Sure, I could have spent the rest of my life feeling sorry for myself, but instead I decided to adopt a new philosophy. And that philosophy is that excuses are for losers. So at this point, not even being able to walk around, I knew I at least needed to be able to get around, so I go to seeing Leader Dogs for the Blind to get a seeing eye dog, where I learned a lot more than just how to use a guide dog. It was there that I learned the most important lesson of my life. While there, I met lots of courageous people. I met people who had mental impairments who were also blind. I met people who were on dialysis machines because the diabetes that had robbed them of their eyesight was also destroying their kidneys. And then I met these young girls who were deaf and blind. And they, like the rest of us, were getting a dog to be independent. For these girls, we had to talk to an interpreter who would then sign into their hands. And that was the only way that they could communicate. Yet they were getting a guide dog to travel independently. It's one thing to walk into someone on the street and hear how rough they have it, but it's something altogether different when you live with someone and you see their challenges firsthand for an entire month. That moment was a real inflection point for me. What's your inflection point? Being exposed to these courageous people had taught me life's most valuable lesson. Happiness is not a feeling. Happiness is not an emotion. Happiness is a decision that each of us make every single day when we wake up. We either choose to deliberately frame our perception, or we allow the circumstances of life to determine our happiness for us. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a key ingredient to improving your happiness and your vision. Not one of us in this room, and not one of us on this planet, controls everything that happens to us. Yet we all have total control over how we respond. We can either choose to respond to the events of life in a purposeful and positive way, or we can simply react without the assistance of thoughtful intentions. I like to think of it like a game of poker. No one controls the hand they're dealt, but every player has total control over how they play each card. In my case, I had to learn how to use a computer after going blind, and I even had to learn how to write code to program software in order to do that. And as a result, the code that I wrote is still being used by thousands of blind people around the world for various software systems. And while technology giants like Oracle said it couldn't be done, I had already done it. I did it with my eyes closed. So I've found from my own personal journey that when you choose happiness, success ultimately follows. And there's a growing body of scientific research to support this concept. Sean Aker, Harvard researcher, summarized 225 academic studies that found happy employees are 31% more productive, they have 37% higher sales, and they have 300% more creativity. In one experiment, researchers blindfolded participants and told the participants they were going to rub their right arms with the poison ivy plant. All 13 participants broke out with symptoms, but the plant being used was not even poison ivy. On their left arm, researchers rubbed poison ivy and told them it was a harmless plant. Although all 13 students were highly allergic to poison ivy, only 2 broke out with symptoms. In another experiment, the hotel maze study, researchers looked at the cleaning crews across 7 different hotels. They broke them up into halves, and they told one half how much their work was like exercise, how many calories they're burning, and how much vacuuming is like cardiovascular activity. The other half was given no such primer. Several weeks later, researchers found that those who had been primed to think of their work as exercise had actually lost weight, and their cholesterol even dropped. The only thing that changed was their perception. The activities were identical to what they had been before. The way we perceive the events of our life is so critical and can even change the physical world around us. And while this is a useful skill to have, not everyone can easily reframe the way they see the world. Because this can be difficult, at home we are teaching our daughter this skill by having a nighttime session where we all say things that we're thankful for. Let's thoughtfully reframe our perceptions to improve our happiness and our success. Now, you guys may have gathered by now, but I'm a pretty ambitious guy. But ambition alone is not enough. One time I went to a professional football game, had way too much to drink, and decided it would be a good idea to ride a mechanical bull. To be honest with you, I could not even tell when the bull began to spin. I was already spinning by the time I made it to the bull. I ended up flying from the table, beer went everywhere, and that's when I learned that being blind drunk and being a drunk blind guy are not at all the same thing. Another time, I ambitiously decided to go downhill snow skiing in Aspen, Colorado. And there are a lot of people who will tell you that skiing is not at all dangerous if you have experience. These people have obviously never skied. And I also like to do a little yard work. I like to mow the lawn and do a little trimming, and I like yard work because I'm ambitious, but it clearly makes other people uncomfortable. Ambition is important, but you have to weigh the risks and rewards. But I refuse to live my life in fear. And I refuse to live my life according to other people's expectations of what they think I can do. And I refuse to let my lack of eyesight limit my vision. You may call it blind ambition, but I call it life. We all have obstacles. What obstacles are getting in your way that you need to overcome to improve your vision and make a difference in the world we live in? Thank you.